Hello, everyone. This is Sheila Caldwell with the Heart to Heart Foundation. Thank you for taking time out of your busy day and joining us for lunch. As you all know, this week is National Women's Health Week. So every day this week, what we wanted to do was to invite one of our favorite women. Some are leaders of local nonprofit organizations, some own small businesses, but we all have a different commitment to different aspects of women's health. And so we're going to be talking the gamut this week. Tomorrow we have Michelle Wilson. We're going to be talking about the largest organ in your body. Do you know what that is? So make sure you join us tomorrow. But today we want to make sure we have a heart-to-heart chat with Betsey O'Brien from NAMI, Piedmont Tri-County. May is National Mental Health Awareness Month. And so what a great time. And we've got National Women's Health Week, we've got Mental Health Awareness Month, combining the two together. So everybody, let's welcome my friend Betsey O'Brien. Hi, Betsey. How are you today?
I am fine. I hope you are too.
Doing well. I was telling somebody the other day, and I know you and I've had a lot of offline conversations, and we can certainly get into this, but how people approach the subject of quarantine differently. For some people, it probably feels like a prison sentence. For me, it's one of those, be careful what you ask for. You might just get it when you said, man, if I just had some more days in my office, I could get caught up and I could create and I could work on all kinds of projects. Well, I've gotten my wish. And for me, this has been like I've had time to create and to work on things that otherwise I might struggle to have time to work on. So, it's different how people approach that. But before we get into that, we were talking before I brought you on that May is National Mental Health Awareness Week and month rather, and this week is Women's Health Week. So we can bring the two together. But let's get to know a little bit about Betsey, because I know a lot of people know your name and they know your association with NAMI, Piedmont Tri-County. But tell us a little bit about you.
Okay, well, I am a mom. I have two grown children. One is 34, one is 31. And so everybody's sort of launched in their own special way. And so I'm able to do more work with this kind of a challenge, mental health, that has become part of our life since, for 25 years. So, yeah. Wow. Our son was diagnosed with a mental health condition at a very young age. And so we were thrown into the learning curve really quickly. And, we recognize these are physical illnesses, just like any other physical illness, as the brain is part of our body and it's not functioning exactly the way it should. And so, we're going, not his fault. So we're trying to figure everything out and move from there. So it's been a challenge, but things are going really, really well. And I really applaud NAMI for being there and helping us through so much of the ups and downs.
So tell us a little bit about NAMI in case somebody's not familiar with the organization.
Okay, the acronym actually stands for the National Alliance on Mental Illness, and we're the largest grassroots mental health organization in the U.S. that supports those who live with a mental health condition and their families. We have programs and support groups for and presentations for schools, for teens, we kind of cover everyone. And the beauty is too, all of our services and presentations and classes are all free. So if we're here, and we want everybody to know that we're here so that you can have the benefits that my husband and I had when we were walking through the challenges that we had.
And I think it's been so encouraging that I've seen on several television specials and television shows at the end of it, they've included NAMI's information so that people would find out that there was a resource for them. And I thought, what a great opportunity to, basically make yourself available that way so that people could find you. So that's tremendous. And like you said, it's national.
Right.
So
it is national. Yep.
We have people outside of our area who may watch this program, watch it on the replay, and that's good for them to know that they can do that. So one of the things I'm going to do before I forget is I'm going to scooch over here and I'm not actually in the comments. We'll make sure we do this. I'm going to put your website address for your local chapter. So that is in the comments section, that if anybody needs help or you want to find out about classes, and we'll be talking about that in a second, then you'll be able to go into the chat box and actually click on your website. And I'm having some kind of little technical, technology is great.
Right.
We used to say back in my old TV days, never work with technology, animals, or children, because something could always happen. And yes, it always does. But hopefully that is posted this time, and that's there in the chat box. So you mentioned your son's story.
Yes.
And I think that's very interesting because you said that you've been involved for 25 years. So how old was he whenever that happened in your family?
We started seeing symptoms with Thomas when he was about 4 years old, and it was really going into nursery school, preschool, that he started having those, I'm not really playing well with others, and, just kind of showing some symptoms. He lives with a mild intellectual disability. He's on the autism spectrum, and he has a mental health condition that started out as ADHD, as many of our children do. Then it sort of became more of a mood disorder. Then it became, as he got a little older, a diagnosis of bipolar illness. And then from there, he started having some auditory and visual hallucinations. So he became what's called schizoaffective as a diagnosis, which is some properties of bipolar illness and some of schizophrenia that are not one or the other actually. So he's got three things going on. And so we worked through lots of different things, medications and different trials of this and that. And then the other thing, we are really in a great place right now. So medication's all working for him really well. And things are really, really good. And those things don't happen overnight. So we don't want people to feel like, get frustrated with it. So.
Now, he's the one that's 34 now, or is he the younger one?
He's the 31, yes.
He's the 31-year-old. So you think about a child who has lived with this, and I think that's part of the thing. And I'm trying to remember, of course, you and I are old enough to remember 25 years ago, unfortunately. Right. But I'm trying to think about 25 years ago, the stigma, the available information, the resources that were not there 25 years ago. What was that like?
It was hard. We tried to connect ourselves. Fortunately, he was in a school district that was very helpful, sort of leading us into ways when, they realized that some of the behaviors he was exhibiting were really a manifestation of his disorder, and helping us sort of say, okay, why don't you go to this agency? We've heard of them and they might be able to help you. So they steered us in a direction, and I was just sort of, I always referred to myself and always tell people and families I work with, become the pleasant pest. Continue to pursue those leads that you have and make those calls, but be kind about it so that not that you want to get put to a top of a list, but that the people will respect you and try to give you as much information as there is out there at the time. So we just kind of learned, but some of the courses that and support groups we participated in 25 years ago were way before NAMI had programs and support groups for parents of children and adolescents. We just said, you know what, we're going to be talking with people that have adult challenges, but you know what, we're going to get something from this and we're going to go for it. So it was a lot of hard work, but he's worth every single minute. So
in case there are parents or grandparents possibly listening to this or watching this, what are some of the signs? I mean, you're talking about a child who, he's not a toddler, but he's not a grade school age either. But, when you talk about the terrible twos or, the threes, and I think we have a tendency when we see some things, we just go, it's just a phase.
Right.
How do you know when it's not just a phase and it's not them trying to exert their independence, which as they get older,
Right.
they want to make their own decisions. You hear this and you see that struggle. How do you know when it's not a phase and it's really something else that you need to seek help for?
Right. Well, what we tell families and what we learned as a couple was you look for things that are intensity and duration. Those are words that are key. So if you're seeing mood changes or sadness, or you're seeing anger issues and they're going on more than 2 weeks, that's a red flag. So, we all have things that set us back a little bit. So maybe we might be sad or we might be anxious, but if it's going on and it's preventing us from having success in our daily life, well, Thomas had a lot of those kinds of things going on. So we knew there were, and it was really the terrible twos that he never grew out of the terrible twos. So we knew, and moms and dads, they have a gut feeling. They have a gut. Something isn't quite right. And we heard all about, he's just a boy, he'll get over this. This is just the way it is. We just had a gut feeling that he was a little over the top, sort of not that round going through, he was the square trying to go into the round peg, and it wasn't working. So yeah, we were able to figure it out slowly but surely. But yeah, it's looking for those signs that that instinct that we as parents know something's just not right here. So
how has it changed? You discovered this with him when he was 4, and I assume by your story that you had to really kind of fight to get the help and the information that you needed. So he went through school,
right,
dealing with this, and I know things have changed, over the years. But how has the school systems adapted and changed to try to identify children that some of the behavioral issues they may be seeing in school, could be a deeper issue?
Well, I think one of the things, and we're educating a lot of parents and teachers are understanding this too. A lot of kids come to school, not necessarily our guy, but a lot of kids come to school and they have a lot of baggage that they're carrying in there before they've even gone through the door. And that may display or reveal itself through behaviors or other things that they're seeing in these children that are, possibly a mental health condition coming, but it could be trauma related. So they might be living with, poverty or seeing alcohol or substance abuse in their home. There's lots of things that these kids go through. But teachers are seeing things too, and they're usually pretty on point to help parents to, maybe be that, because kids are different at home than they are in school. So teachers can kind of say, we're seeing that they're having a real challenge getting along with their peers, whatever. So these again are red flags that you can say, I'm seeing that when we go to family events or parties. Maybe there is something to this. And the statistics for kids are 1 in 5 youth live with a diagnosable mental health condition. And when you think about that, that's 20% of kids. That's a lot of children. And it's 25% of adults. So you usually don't have to travel too far down your own family tree to find someone who's having a few struggles. And they don't all have to be extreme, to have a diagnosable issue, but to just have some challenges. So one of the things we do in schools, which is good for parents to know too, is that we'll go through and we'll say, okay, 1 in 5 youth have a diagnosable mental health condition. We do a count off or show them an index card, and we ask the teacher to pick a number 1 to 5, and then we ask that number of students to stand up. And so visually, they saw what 1 in 5 looks like, and we've heard them say 1 in 5. So it's prevalent. So, and we'll sometimes ask the teacher, well, how many students in this school? Well, we have 2,000 in this high school. Well, that means that 400 of them are living with mental health conditions, and we need to make sure that we can reach out to them so that they don't struggle and that these situations don't get worse. Because like all other physical illnesses, you want to try to catch things early at a stage 1 when it's easier to treat than a stage 4. So
I think I remember reading on your website earlier that you're talking about 57 million Americans that are suffering with some form of mental health issues.
Right. And with this COVID thing, I mean, we're there's that 57 million plus, because that statistic is a little bit, couple years old. But with this COVID-19 pandemic, we're seeing a lot more depression. We're seeing a lot more isolation, and that leads to the depression, lots more anxiety. I worry about all of our first responders and frontline medical staff and some of the post-traumatic stress that they're going to deal with. They all have a high stress job as it is, but now they're going to work and they're coming home possibly to their family and putting themselves and their family at risk. So there is just this, and even when we go to the grocery store, we come home as moms or as women, and we go to the grocery store, we're bringing stuff home, we're thinking we're doing, something to improve everyone's lives for the day, and you just kind of don't know whether you've been safe enough, or it's just scary. It's adding that layer of stress and anxiety that people who typically were maybe in really good mental health with good coping strategies, all of a sudden it's ratcheted it up a bit. And we've got to be aware of that and talk about it and say, you know what, I'm really nervous about this whole thing. And maybe being able to voice that is just the best thing. And I know
and removing that stigma. I mean, of not being afraid to say, I need help. I'm not coping well, or because we know with heart disease, and I know you have your own experience with that depression and anxiety, the high stress is some of the things that we look for in people, that it puts them at higher risk for heart attack and stroke. And when you have that compounded stress day in, day out, and that feeling of uncertainty, and you don't know how to cope, you don't know how to express that, sooner or later, your physical body is going to let you know it just can't take anymore. So what are some ways, and I know that you all and so many of our organizations have had to figure out, and I know we talk about the businesses out there, the restaurants and everybody else, that the small businesses, they've kind of had to figure out how to cope in this environment. Well, the nonprofit organizations couldn't just stop helping people. I mean, you're helping people with mental health issues that need that lifeline. So it's not a matter of, oh, well, we're all quarantined, we'll just pick up where we leave off in 2 months. You all have figured out how to continue working with people even through this over the last couple of months. So talk to us about this particular time where we are right now with the COVID-19, about how people at home, I guess, number one, what are some of the warning signs that they need, that they might see in some of their loved ones, whether it's children all the way to seniors, that they need some help. How do you cope? And then let's talk about what services you all are providing to help them to do that.
Okay, so some of the signs and symptoms for everyone broadly would be, sleeping too much, not sleeping enough, isolating. So during this time, we're talking, we're hearing all about social distancing, but what we really need to be talking about and focusing on is physical distancing only. That 6 feet apart, that kind of thing. But we need to stay socially connected. So we need to be in touch with our friends. We need to not drop out of, and our family. And for our kids, we need to try to figure out whatever it is that kind of socialization they used to do, try to keep that going in some way, shape, or form. Is it FaceTime? Is it trying to have these free Zoom meetings? Is it calling and FaceTime? All those things, emails, go back to emails, text, all those ways that we stay in touch with each other, continue to do that, because that just will keep us all really well connected. One of the other things with anxiety too is there's lots of worry. Some adults may be turning to alcohol or substances to just kind of figure they're going to ease that pressure. Some people are worried about whether they have, if they're laid off, if there's going to be a job back, to go back to. So there's all of those things that could be really troubling. So again, it's mood changes up or down. It's that are more severe than usual and for a longer period of time. So anything for a couple of weeks could be a red flag that you're starting to get yourself in trouble. And watch the kids. This is a really tough time for all of us. We're all grieving in our own way about things that we can't do anymore. We can't, there's the poor seniors that aren't going to be able, in college and in high school, that aren't going to be able to graduate as they thought they would. No proms, no, social distancing from friends, boyfriends, girlfriends, all of those things. And for the adults, it's social distancing from, or physically distancing, I should say, from our family members and our friends. But that doesn't mean you can't, have a Zoom meeting and have a coffee with a friend. So you have to be a little more creative, but make the effort so that you do feel connected. Things that NAMI has that would be available to you are family support group meetings at 6:30 every Tuesday night. They're by Zoom. They're through Zoom Pro, and we can connect anybody to join us. So those are for family members of adults that live with a mental health challenge. If you're worried about one of your family members that's an adult, it's a great place to get on the call and you don't have to say anything if you're not comfortable yet in that way, but to just listen to what other folks are going through. One thing is, you're not there by yourself. You're not alone. And on Thursday nights, every Thursday night at 6:30, we have a Zoom meeting for those who live with a mental health condition, adults that live with a mental health condition, or think that they're struggling a little bit, a place to just bounce some things off of one another. Once a month, the third Monday of every month, we have a parent support group for parents of children and adolescents who might be at their wits' end, wondering what's going on with their child, or just looking for other parents who may have similar struggles. So you can contact NAMI and go to our website. That would be the best way at www.nami.piedmont.org. And you could get a list of all of our support groups and contact us. We can add you to our newsletter list. But we do have a lot of things going on. We actually have live parent webinars going on right now for parents of children and adolescents so that they can listen and hear from other parents and go through this live webinar called Ending the Silence for Families and just be part of that 1 hour presentation to experience what that might be like and learn some skills. So yeah, there's lots of things that we have that would be available.
That is tremendous. I mean, that's a lot in a week.
Yes.
And it's available from their home. They don't have to leave. They don't have to worry about social distancing. And some people, like you said, may want that anonymity.
Correct.
Maybe that's a way they can put their toe in the water to kind of check things out without having to come out to a public meeting. But we have, I've put your website address in the chat box, as well as your Facebook, because I know you've got a lot of things listed under your events on your Facebook page, and we have that on there as well. But I think it's so important. I know, we women, we pay a lot of attention to this. Mm-hmm. And right now we're all needing haircuts. Really, yours looks fine, but some of us really need a haircut. My husband did manage to trim mine recently. That was fun. But we do that and some other things, but it's okay to say that you're not okay.
Right.
That is not a sign of weakness to say.
Absolutely not. It's a sign of strength. It's a sign of strength to just say.
It's courage.
Yeah, it is. It's courage. Yeah. And I think that what we need to do is be first good listeners. So when our kids are saying, is this ever going to end? And what are we going to do? And as parents, we want to say, everything's going to be okay. Don't worry about it. But what we need to do is we need to acknowledge everyone's feelings. Okay, so I hear how frustrated you are. And I hear how sad you are that you're missing your friends. And when it's a spouse that may be worried about a job or whatever, listen, be a good listener, and then reflect back what you're hearing so they know they're being heard. And then you'll feel more comfortable saying, you know what, I feel really scared about this too. So
one of the conversations you and I've been having the last few weeks has to do with our first responders and our frontline healthcare workers,
Right.
and also their spouses,
Right.
their significant others, because sometimes the first responder themselves might be one of those that is hesitant to talk about where they are and what they're feeling. And there's different reasons, we've all speculated about why they may be hesitant to do that. So if I was the wife of a first responder, whether it's police, sheriff, EMS, fire, what can I do as the spouse, to kind of help at this time?
Right. Well, one of the first things would be to be watching. You have that gut feeling. Remember, we have that gut feeling about someone we love. And just be noticing different things and share with that person using I statements instead of you're drinking a lot more than you used to. You can just say, I noticed that you're drinking a little more than you used to, and I worry about that, or I'm concerned. Use I statements so they feel less wanting to respond, because that may be what they think is going to help them at the time. But just kind of knowing things and communicating in a non-accusatory way, and just make mental notes to yourself like, I'm making a mental note that I'm seeing these types of changes, that the stress level might be getting to that toxic point. And then again, please come to a NAMI family support group. You don't have to share anything about you personally. Just say, this is what I'm observing in my loved one. Can anybody give me some just advice that might be helpful? But there's also a family to family course that's going to be coming up. It's going to be live webinar, Zoom. It's an 8-session course. Again, it's free like everything we have. And it's talking about challenges that we have with our loved one that is living with a mental health condition. And that's going to start on Saturday, May 23rd. There is a pre-registration because we're only taking 20 people for that course, but it's something that NAMI repeats every, 2 or 3 times a year. And we're going to have to do it through Zoom instead of at the churches we typically use. But those would be my first steps. And then we're working on, with you, coming up with a webinar, a learning tool that we can invite spouses of the first responders and that frontline medical staff that might be concerned about some of the anxiety and stress that their loved ones are going through, so that they can learn a little more about what are the signs and symptoms I need to really be focusing on, and what can I do for myself to make sure that I'm getting my self-care, because if I don't have self-care and take care of myself, I'm not going to be there for him or her or my kids or whatever. So it's going to be very involved, and just to be about an hour long, just sharing that general information that you need to know. What are the signs and symptoms? What are the statistics I need to know? So I know that, hey, if there's X number of nurses at the hospital, if there are X number of police officers, and I know the stats, it's got to be there. So
it's got to be there. Well, thank you so much. And I know pretty much every nonprofit organization out there had to cancel because there's spring and there's fall when we do our huge fundraising events for the year.
Right.
And I'm sure you probably had to cancel some fundraising events as well. But if people want to donate to NAMI to help with your work, because again, you said these programs and classes are free.
Yes.
And that is such a tremendous gift to our community. But I assume they can go to your website and make a donation if they would like to. Do you have any virtual fundraisers coming up by any chance?
Well, we will be having a golf tournament in August that we had to reschedule. That will be in Lancaster, And then we always have our walk for 1 in 4, our NAMI walk. And that is going to be on 10/10/2020 at Cherry Park. And that is our major fundraiser where we have hundreds of people come out and walk and in support of mental health. And so it's at 10/10/2020 is a Saturday, but it also coincidentally is World Mental Health Day. So it just worked out that way. Grabbed that date the minute we saw that. So
well, that worked out great. And hopefully, October. we're gonna. I'm doing this, yes. But thank you so much. And again, we have put in the chat box, Betsey, thank you for your time. I'm going to pull you off screen here for a second and just thank everybody for joining us again. Today is day number 3. It actually kicked off on Sunday, the National Women's Health Week. And the Heart to Heart Foundation is glad to be a part of that. And today, of course, we were talking about May being Mental Health Awareness Month with Betsey O'Brien from NAMI Piedmont Tri-County. Look in the chat boxes below. You can find their website, their Facebook page, lots of free programs and events that you and your family can take advantage of. Now, one of the things we promised is that everybody who watches the show, at the end of the show, we would post the secret code of the day. So let me make sure I'm doing this right. You know, this is great when you're kind of directing and everything, producing by yourself. So in the chat box, let's see, ta-da, there it is. In the chat box, there is the link to the form. All you've got to do is fill out the form, put in the secret code. Today's word is sunshine, because that's what I think of when I think of Betsey, is sunshine. And put that code in. That will put you in the drawing that we're going to draw on Sunday. We're actually going to draw on Sunday, and we're going to give away 2 $50 Amazon gift cards. So if there's some extra things you've been needing and you're still not out shopping, you're doing your social distancing, you can go online and order it and get it in. So we're going to do that. But thank you all for joining us tomorrow. Please join us, because we will have Michelle Wilson from Pure Escape Resort Spa talking about how to take care of your largest organ in your body. We'll see how many people know that. So thank you so much. We will see you tomorrow at noon. Stay healthy. Wear those masks. God bless.